Hi, I'm Claire. I'm an artist based in Hampshire, and today I'm going to show you ways that you can take part in Bursledon, Hamble and Hound's Window Wanderland project. What is Window Wanderland? Well, I'm glad you asked. Window Wanderland is a COVID-safe project where you can decorate or dress your window to create a magical neighbourhood gallery that can be explored and enjoyed by your whole community. Windows can be in a home, local business, or even a community building. So let's get started. Here's what you're going to need. So step 1, you'll need to measure your window and cut your base paper to size. The easiest way to do this is to take the paper to the window and make sure it perfectly fits over the glass panes. If your base paper is smaller than your window, you can do what I've done here, which is use some sellotape to tape a few pieces together. And here's my finished window base. Don't worry if, like me, you've had to patch some areas in. It won't show up in your final display. Step 2, you're going to add your tissue paper to your base layer. I'm using some tissue paper in an autumn colour palette because autumn is another one of my favourite things. As well as tissue paper, you can also add coloured acetates or sweet wrappers that are see-through, or stretched crepe paper can also work well. You can add anything that allows the light to pass through it at this stage. To hide the folds in my tissue paper, I'm going to scrunch it up and unfold it. It helps to give the paper a little bit of texture. Next, I'm going to rip it into strips. For my design, I've decided to stick the tissue paper horizontally in layers, working from the bottom of my window base upwards. I'm also going to overlap the tissue paper so it allows the colours to mix. I'm happy with how this is going, so using a glue stick, I'm going to start to glue my tissue paper to my window base. If you want your window display to be monochrome, you can always add white tissue paper to the base. I've chosen to rip my tissue paper instead of use scissors to give them a nice rough natural edge, which works with my forest display. Of course, you don't have to do it how I'm doing it. I'm doing mine horizontally, but you could do yours vertically in bigger or smaller strips, like this, all the way along. You can scrunch up tissue paper, dab on a bit of glue and stick it down for a rougher texture. Or, another option, you can take larger pieces of your tissue paper and stick them down, even larger than that if you like. Let's crack on. And step 2 is finished when you've fully covered your window base. Here's mine. Step 3, we make and attach our sugar paper silhouettes to our window base. Now, you don't have to use black sugar paper. You just need to make sure you're using a paper or card that doesn't let any light through it. I've decided that my design needs a frame around the edges, so I'm just going to rip some sugar paper to give it that nice rough edge. And I'll secure that with a piece of sellotape on each side. When you're attaching any heavy paper or card to your window base, you should use double-sided tape. You don't need very much tape. I'm putting a dot on each corner. I also cut out some tree trunk silhouettes with a pair of scissors. I did thin and thick trunks and some branches. To attach the tree trunks to the base, I'll use double-sided tape. And to attach the thinner branches, I'll use a glue stick. Lastly, I wanted to have a go at some lettering. On a piece of sugar paper, I drew out my letters and then cut them out using scissors. Oh, there I am. I also have a smaller window pane at the front of my house that I'd like to put a smaller display in. So here's a slightly different technique that you could incorporate into your design. On some of my leftover sugar paper, I drew some leaves with a pencil. Snip, snip. You can also use the piece that you've cut out in your display, but for this, I'm going to use the negative. It just needs a little tape. Next, I added some glue and used the same horizontal layering technique to fill the gap. You could cover the gap in many different ways: vertical pieces of tissue paper or one large piece of tissue paper, whatever works for your design. Step 4. Now's time for your finishing touches. I've decided to add a little more texture with some screwed up tissue paper layered over my tree trunks to look like tree leaves. Step 5. Flip your display over and grab your masking tape, because it's time to attach your display to your window. Here's mine. As you can see, I've put masking tape around all 4 edges of my display. It doesn't matter what colour masking tape you use, only that it's quite strong, so I recommend the stuff we use for DIY. If you don't want to masking tape directly onto your window, you can always make a flap at the top of your display and thread a tension rod through it, or you can hang it from your curtain rail. Step 6. Light up your window. Most displays only require you to leave your main room light on, but some people like to bring a lamp close to the display or light it with fairy lights. It's up to you. Choose whichever lighting works for you. Pop outside and have a look at your design. And finally, step 7. Have your window display finished, attached to your window and lit up, ready for our big exhibition day. Stay tuned now, because here comes all the information you're going to need to take part. Good luck and get creative.